Welcome to Your Pathways to Wealth, the podcast where we explore what wealth truly means, because it's different for everyone. I'm Charles Massimo, and along with my partner, Peter Anastasian, we'll dive into strategies, stories, and insights that help you define, grow, and enjoy your wealth on your terms. So let's navigate this journey together.
Join Charlie and Peter and their guest experts as they venture to help you continue to grow your wealth.
Welcome back to Your Pathways to Wealth. I'm your host, Charlie Massimo, and as always with my partner, Peter Anastasian. For our listeners and our clients, you know how passionate we are about empowering women, especially the next generation of women as they control more and more of the wealth that's happening. But it's not only about wealth, it's about lifestyle and about living the best life possible. We are so excited to have our guest with us today, Sarah Stone. Now, Peter and I met Sarah probably about a month or so ago, and right away the passion, the energy, the accent, which you're going to hear in a second, but all of that, as soon as she left, Peter and I looked at each other and said, not only do we want to be connected with her, but we really want to work with her. So Sarah, we really enjoy or welcome you to our podcast today.
Well, first, Charlie and Peter, thank you so much for the incredible introduction that you've just given. And I've got to say, the feeling was totally mutual. I think we just spent some time in each other's company. And I think that's where the magic's created, when the vision and values of what we're both trying to do is really completely aligned.
Yeah, we so agree. We so appreciate that. Sarah is the CEO and founder of Intentional Living magazine, which we're going to spend some time talking about today. And it really is a high-end luxury brand. But what Peter and I realized right from the beginning, it's so much more than a magazine. It's an opportunity to network, to build friends, to build community. And that's what got us really excited. So Sarah, can you talk to us a little bit about what gave you that inspiration to start Intentional Lifestyle magazine?
Yeah, so it's really incredible now hearing you speak about it, because that was the whole vision from an inspiration that actually came from writing a book. So I authored a book that was called Live What You Love. And it was really heart and soul that went into the pages of trying to inspire people to live an intentional life when actually you don't know what your next chapter is. So it came off the back of moving here to New York from England 7 years ago. So that's where the accent is from. And as part of that move, it was really starting over a life here, because when you get to the United States, you don't carry over that credit rating or those bank accounts. You start from zero. So we were having to buy cars straight out from the cash from the house that we sold back in the UK. And so it was really a point of what do we do? Where do we start? And part of the inspiration behind it was I wanted to have a book to refer to, because I'm a lifelong learner myself. And I wanted to bring back all of the things that I've learned back in the UK, and also the life lessons that I was learning here, starting from scratch and trying to reinvent. So that book did really well, and a lot of ladies were inspired by it. And so other magazines were actually asking me to write a continuation of what the book was. So although I was getting asked for a second book, I actually preferred writing it in bite-sized content that I could share through magazines that could go out more frequently. And just over the period of time, a previous editor and publisher said to me, Sarah, this needs to be its own magazine. You're contributing everywhere else, but actually, what if you brought other people together who could share their education resources, share their insights, share their stories, and actually build it into what you're doing here? And that was the birth of Intentional Living magazine.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a phenomenal magazine, so high end, and some of the things you've taught us a lot about marketing already, just in the few weeks that we've known you. But I love that you don't put a date, right, on the magazine. Talk a little about why you intentionally do not put a date on the magazine.
Yeah, so I think that is one of my unique selling. It's the magic sauce in what I do, because I was very passionate in not having a magazine that is just on a doorstep one day and there's the thunderstorm and it gets wet and crispy and nobody wants it. Nobody wants it on their coffee table. So the goal was to create a coffee table style book that stands the test of time, that actually you refer back to, and it becomes less about the seasons throughout the year. It becomes more about the seasons in your life. So with that, I wanted all of the articles that we shared to be timeless, that you can just refer back to and it's still relevant. I also wanted to add value to our partners that we partner with, that actually there's not a time limit on what they're sharing or what their offer would be or what their company ethos is, because that should never change. It should be at the true heart of you. And so the tagline that we have with the magazine is read it, love it, live it. And that's the essence of it, of being more than just a publication. This ends up being something that you read, you like the sound of, you think you're going in because it's a luxury publication and you're going to be inspired by the latest trends or interiors or even, even a handbag. And then actually what you find in there is deep rooted information that becomes life resources. And then off the back of that, we go over quality over quantity, because we really want it to be a gift in people's hands. And so the aim of it then is to bring that to life. So there's the live it part. So after somebody has read the magazine, we then curate these beautiful marketing experiences where the voices behind the brands get in the same room as the consumers that are reading it.
So Sarah, you come up with this idea. You want to launch a magazine, right? I mean, everybody has their vision. A lot of times you have trouble eventually executing on that vision. So can you walk us through exactly how that launch progressed? What went into it? Where did you actually start out? And how long did it actually take for you to come out with your first publication or first issue?
Oh, that's a great question. So, because it has been a lengthy process, and it's not just been a straight road along that process either. I've coined the tagline, I like to zig whilst everyone else is zagging, because it's meant that at every single stage. So what started out as an online blog has actually transitioned into that publication over the time. So it has started over a 5-year period. That started with the book. Then it started going into writing and doing articles and having a location online to house all of these articles. Then there came the opportunity 3 years ago to actually partner with a publisher. And I actually haven't shared this on any other podcast, so you're getting an exclusive here, that I partnered with somebody who was very passionate about partnering with Intentional Living magazine, mainly because of the clientele that we were attracting, because we're based between the Hamptons and the city, and we built a beautiful community out in the Hamptons where many doors are very closed unless you're a local there. And actually, with full gratitude, for a period of time, we were living right in the center of Southampton Village. So I was taken under the wing by some really incredible women that wanted to support and make me feel at home within their community. So that was there, and it was catching the eye of other people. And they wanted to publish. They said, we'll publish your magazine, and actually we will have it one side your magazine, the other side our magazine. So we wanted to combine, because they wanted to talk about retirement. It was all about retirement lifestyle, but not retiring in your 60s or 70s. This was like an early retirement. And so I thought, well, I can't publish on my own. Like, I don't know what stock needs to be doing. I'm not a print house or a publisher. So there was a bit of testing my own confidence there. And so I partnered, and I signed up to 2 or 3 exclusive networking locations, one based in London, one based on Fifth Avenue in New York. And the first launch that we were due to have, I flew back to the UK. I actually invited all of the attendees that were due to be in the publication, and the magazines didn't arrive. They didn't.
Oh,
Wow.
There was no magazine. So the publisher had said, we've sent them, they're there. And actually there'd been a problem with the spine on the actual magazines and they hadn't printed. And so I was at a luxurious event in London with 0 magazines and all of my contributors.
wow.
and so thank goodness that they were all behind me. I was completely transparent. I let them know what it was, and they got behind me. They supported me. And so the publisher at the time was obviously extremely embarrassed, wanted to make it up to me, and said, and I said, okay, we'll do it again. And the second time around, this was now at the event on Fifth Avenue, the magazines did arrive, but because they changed the shape from the UK publication to a US side, the magazines arrived, but they were all blurred on the inside. So this time I was like, I cannot use this because this is not the quality that I can put into the hands that I'm saying that this is a high quality publication. So I stood in front of a room of nearly 100 people with one magazine in front of me, and I told them the concept of the magazine, and not one magazine was needed. I'd paid for goodie bags to be going out to everybody. The magazine should have been in there. There was 0 magazines in there, but all I could do is actually have this standing out front and saying, this is the concept, this is what it is. But what it did actually do was attract desirability, because they could see the truth of what the concept was. And I could show, I could flick through, and they could see the quality, they could see all of that was there. And again, we managed to pull off an event based on not having any magazines. And that was the point when I said, enough's enough. I can't trust anybody else to do this. This is a process that I have to do and self-fund myself. And that's exactly what we did. And then the next challenge of that is when you try and publish something, these are expensive publications. That's not a cheap print you have there. So that was one of the other decisions why I didn't want to have a date on it, because I need these to last. I need, not just for my own purposes, but for my client purposes as well. So then it came to, well, how do I get this paid for? How is this going to be? I can self-invest the first time around, but what happens for the next one and the next one and the next one, if this is going to be sustainable in any way, shape or form? So I re-engineered how media is actually traditionally published, turned it on its head, and actually made it about the contributors that were providing us with the wisdom and the knowledge and the insights that actually they were wanting to stand out in their industry, and they were wanting to actually focus on their marketing with a real strategy behind it. So we built a platform that was built around calls to action, that it would have information downloadable, it would send them to the direct places. And then we had a full marketing strategy for each partner that we took on, that it wasn't never just about the magazine anymore. This was about positioning. It's about intentional conversations. It was investable. So how I engineered it was that I picked 16 to 18 hand-picked experts or those that were leading in their industry, and we all collectively invested, and we published, and we got that out there. So we did that independently, and then that turned heads of advertisers then, because they saw we did a proven concept, because then we did a beautiful event that was based in the private residences of the Four Seasons in Tribeca, New York, and we had people come along with wine tasting. We had a beautiful charcuterie board, and we had the contributors that should have been there originally on that first time around, along with the new ones as well. And we did a huge celebration of that, and there was just magic created based on those challenges, and those setbacks created something really special, because it gave us real foundation of being rooted in what we offered, that didn't have to be conforming what everybody else sees as mainstream media.
Yeah. Well, that story certainly backs that you're a true entrepreneur, because when you're faced with obstacles, you have a choice. You either say, forget it, I can't do it, or you learn from that experience, and you certainly learn from that experience. You've been talking a little bit about the events, and we're excited. We're going to be doing one with you in Southampton at the end of August. So we can't wait. Going on the Instagram, your Instagram picture, you could see how high quality everything is that you do, and the focus you focus on every piece of it, not just one. You focus on we're starting to experience that with you, which is why we appreciate it so much. But talk a little bit about the experience of attending one of your events. What do you hope that the people get out of it? Not those that just helped you, that are in the magazine, but those that are just showing up and not knowing what to expect. What are you hoping they all leave with, other than a great gift bag?
Yeah. So with things, it's always been about experience and actually evoking senses, feelings, and emotion to create real magic. So we've just done one recently, and people don't know what to expect. They just know that they've been given a day, they've been given a time, and they just know they're in good company. And so there's never been any expectation from guests that have come, because that guest list has been carefully curated. So this is never that's out to mainstream, that you'll never see an invite saying come along to this. You'll actually see that we do marketing post event rather than prior. And the reason why we do that is it actually evokes real desirability of like, that was amazing. How can I get an invite to your next one? Which actually prompts a conversation. So again, we're actually doing it the reverse way around of saying, hey, do you want to come? It's actually, no, we'll personally outreach and do a beautifully designed invitation that often is printed, and it gets into their hands and they see it. And we get 100% RSVP rate because it feels special. So we actually concentrate on the personal relationships prior to anything happening. And then they just know that they're going to meet somebody new. They're going to find out more about the voices behind a brand, and actually then realize that there's possibility of the people that are coming, because something that I pride myself on is being able to bring the right people together at the right time in the right environment. And so that's not about being exclusive in a way that's not inclusive. That's just making it exactly like what the publication is. That one conversation flows to the next, and it just feels deeply immersive, that people think I was meant to be here today. So the experience that I want for people to have when they come to stuff like this is that they have that feeling of like, serendipity has worked her magic. I was meant to be here today to speak to these people in the way that I have. And the cherry on the top of all of this is that I get a great goodie bag to go away with. I get a copy of the magazine, and now I'm in the room and I've got 22 more connections that I know that I'm going to speak to more and have a relationship that's going to be nurtured.
That's great. I am curious though, how do you scale? And this is, Peter and I, we try to be as exclusive as possible.
Yeah.
But sometimes scaling and staying exclusive is a challenge. And I would think when you think about, people are going to want to work with you exclusively, and how do you scale and having to say no to people because you have loyal followers already? So what is your vision there? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I think the sweet spot that we have is very small and intimate. So I think that's how the concept works. It's because it feeds into that quality over quantity feel. But then as my contact list grows and as our community grows, then actually it's our branded partners where that can grow, where there's bigger partners that can get involved, that would invest more to be in these environments. And actually then that means that we can have more satellite events that are taking place, that we get to grow a team, and that those people that are aligned with the vision of Intentional Living magazine, they're hosting it in different locations. And when I say partners, that can be be additional contributors. So that was always the vision. So I'd like to put myself into the collective of me being a contributor. I love to write the articles. I love to bring other people in. The vision of the scalability of that is that actually we also have 18 other contributors right now, which is ever evolving, ever growing. And they have that opportunity to have a satellite experience in their environments that then I can be a guest of, but still speak and bring other connections. So it's a little bit like a spider's web in that form of that when somebody joins us as either a featured partner or a featured contributor or columnist, they actually also take on a bit of a responsibility to also be able to host these events, whether it be in San Diego, whether it be in Miami, whether it be in Palm, wherever it is. Then we want to nurture that like growth of the community, that they also take responsibility to help get this message out on a further field.
Sarah, it seems your viewership, stretches quite a bit in a range of ages. And so how do you create messaging around that? How do you direct it towards those that are maybe in their 20s or 30s versus those that are in their 50s and 60s? And when do you decide to write an article or include an article in one publication versus another?
Yeah, so that was very, very apparent when we first started the publication, because it did seem to be very wide. But as we're starting to really find our feet with who our demographic is, I would say we are in that 40 plus range. However, we do partner with incredible brands that attracts the younger audience anyway. And what I mean by that is that one of our contributors, she has a luxury handbag company. So with the luxury handbags, girls in their 20s love a luxury handbag. women in their 60s love a designer handbag. So actually these environments we're then putting these evenings on. And what's beautiful about that, and I do find it really beautiful, and I'll use wealth as an example as this, is that that's the reason why I partner with hooks and magnets like that, like a sparkly magnet of whether it be jewelry, whether it be fashion, whether it be food. We all love a glass of Prosecco. We all love a pizza. We're all like, it doesn't matter the age. We can find common ground on certain elements. So that's the hook, is like something that we all like and admire. We can come in and we can have a sip and a shop evening. But as partner as that, we can have let's also talk about our wealth and our health. So you've got the handbags that are there that have got the sparkly eyes that are really like, oh my God, I love this. And then we actually have the introduction to say, hey, this is Intentional Living Magazine. This is like, let's learn about how we can actually learn about wealth. How can we generate wealth? How can we create our legacy from our 20s into our 60s and 80s? So actually it becomes like a lifelong learning path that they get inspired, and it actually plants a seed at that stage. And that can come from talking about money and finance, but it can also come into the health side of everything, which we've done recently. Great example was our previous issue was our wellness, and we were talking about menopause. But what happened with that is that women came with their daughters, because they're saying we did not have this information when we were your age. Listen to this, read this, find out about this. And I think that when we start talking about investment and money and wealth, that wasn't around when I was there. And geez, do I wish that there was something, because now it's a real passion to do that. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. And to that point, Sarah, Peter and I have found we hold a Woman in Wealth luncheon every year. It's our most well-attended luncheon by far, because I think they all want to learn more, right? They're at that stage. And to your point, that group is just growing by leaps and bounds. And it's good to see that you're following through on that too. But I do have a question. How do you describe yourself? Are you a marketer? Are you an event planner? Are you a mentor? Like, how do you describe yourself to people?
It's tough because now I like to bring that everything is coming together. I do find myself as a creative entrepreneur and an experiential marketer, because I feel that back in the UK, my self-employment career started as a professional photographer, and that professional photographer went to particularly women to photograph them, and they were asking me about business. So that then led on to co-founding a company called Female Success Network. And with that, we were doing consultancy and training of how you start out, but then how you can reinvent yourself in that way. And how you do that is through marketing. It is through publicity. It is through to doing things a little bit differently. So I think that's where this this experiential marketing really comes into a specialism that I feel that is a sweet spot for me, because I just like to do things differently, and I like to share with other people how they can do things differently as well. So I think that's the mixed with the entrepreneurial spirits. They're just they're a match made that work collectively for working with companies, working with individuals, but also other people that are really wanting to position themselves as experts. So a bit of consultancy and mentorship thrown in there as well.
Yeah. And in 5 years, where do you see, what's the vision for you in 5 years?
Oh, that's a good question that I'd not thought of. Well, I have thought about that. I do want to be a person that is actually educating others, that where they are on their path, whether it is pursuing their version of success. Because what I found for myself living through all of this process is that actually it's not just about the success. It's about every other area of life. It is your relationships. It is your wealth planning. It is how you seek joy, and actually how you can create a legacy for yourself. And I feel that actually comes in a multifaceted way, that you can have all of those dreams and visions and intentions, but then if you don't do anything about it, that's all they're ever going to be. So I feel like there's a real purpose and a mission to educate on how you can do that, and how you can take action, and how you can take responsibility for all the things that you say that you want. So whether that is through the magazine, whether that is through live events, whether it is through online learning, I feel that I've got a duty to be able to help others be able to do that for themselves too.
That's wonderful. You know, both Peter and I have young daughters. Well, Peter's daughter is a lot younger than mine, but I have a 25-year-old daughter, and I do worry in this world of, you know, it seems like so many young women have anxiety. Right? They don't know their direction, where they should be, where they want to go. What type of advice would you give that generation where we're, you know, now it's all AI, it's all social media, it's everything online. There's very little human connection. What type of advice would you give that generation of women?
That's an incredible question, because instinctively when you said that, then what came up for me is listen to yourself. Because what happens with all of that you see out there, there's so much fake stuff that is out there now, and there's so much content, and it's overwhelming and it's consuming. But actually, if you can actually learn that your thoughts matter, and those little whispers, that if you have a gut instinct about something. So our call today, it's not prompted. We have no questions. We're here having a conversation. So all that we can say between the three of us that are here today is truth, that we're instinctively answering a question. And that's not without a script sheet. That's not about anybody else influencing what we're trying to get across. And I think the more that we can step into our own words, our own thoughts, our own feelings about things, and trust that and believing that, I think that can just give you those whispers of confidence. And I think if you can just keep having whispers of confidence, they stack, they layer, and you can actually hear your words and stop doubting them, because there's influence through social media, there's influence through AI, there's those but actually everything that we need, it's within us. We just need to pull that out with the right community, with the right inspiration, and the right sphere of influence instead of external factors.
Sarah, I'm through your journey. I'm sure you've met so many influential people, but has there been one standout that just truly inspired you, that perhaps maybe you could share with our viewers?
I met the most inspiring person and heard a story of the most incredible story of survival just yesterday. So if you'd have asked me this last week, I probably would have asked somebody else. But I have just heard from a lady yesterday who actually survived the Boston Marathon bombings. And so she's gone through 72 operations.
Oh,
Oh my
wow.
goodness.
Still be here today, and actually she was watching that marathon with her son, and the only reason why her son survived was because her body completely shielded him. He had two effects on him. It still gives me goosebumps of even that story, and it's gone on, and I'd love to refer her to be on your podcast as well, because it's
Absolutely.
such a story of resilience and determination, and actually never ever giving up. And there was even humor that was thrown into all of these stories. She actually did a witness statement to those brothers that did that Boston bombing, and the whole room in that courtroom, and it was a federal case, and they were whooping, they were cheering and everything, because she got to say what she needed to say with confidence, where she'd come up from a family history of not speaking, like being good and staying quiet, and that came from confidence of being there for other people. And she actually, very sadly, had to have her left leg amputated, and part of how she then told the story, she said, but did you know what? She said, every morning I get to wake up and I put my right foot forward, and you should too. So she took something of like, losing a limb, being able to put it into a context in a public speech like that, and have a little bit of humor in all of this, not to do a sob story, but for words of inspiration. And I think that something like that is an absolute inspiring story, that is about business, it's about life, it's about keeping going, and actually like always looking for how life can be, the possibilities of what life can give you. And actually don't trust that you have 5 years. Just know that you only have today.
That truly is inspiration. We'd love to have her on our podcast. And I think after 30 minutes with you, our viewers can understand why we're so excited about our relationship and working together. And we really are grateful for you being here today. We can only imagine how busy your schedule is. And we look forward to our event in August. Can you hold up your magazine one more time, Sarah? Look at it. It's so beautiful, and you got to get it in your hands to really understand how beautiful this magazine is. And it truly is one you don't want to throw it away. We have it right behind us. We keep it on our credenza here, and we're not going to let it go. So, Sarah, how can people view your stuff, stay in touch with you? What's the best way to do it?
Yeah, so we do a lot on our Instagram page. So everything is Intentional Living Magazine with the @ at the beginning of it. Then we actually share all of our articles via our platform. So that's www.intentionallivingmagazine.com. And that's not just a click and flick. It's a real resource tool where you can search, and every article that we share goes on there with recommended reads and calls to actions directly to who we partner with as well. So there are two main places, but obviously we've got Facebook and places like that. But I definitely say Instagram. That seems to be a place where it resonates with everybody, because we can just share so freely. And we've got some intentional conversations over on there as well with some of our contributors and people that with our brands and things like that.
That's great. We'll be in an upcoming magazine, which we're again really excited about, our whole Life by Design program for women. So we really encourage listeners to really pass this on, especially to your daughters, your granddaughters, your nieces, because I think these are words from people. There's so few women that have a voice, that are really doing great things out there. Sarah's certainly one of them. So we hope this resonates with you and you share it with those that you care about as well. And obviously, to reach us, you can always go to YourPathwaysToWealth.com. And we look forward to seeing you on our next podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much.
to connect with Charlie or Peter, visit them at YourPathwaysToWealth.com or call them 631-777-1030. That's 631-777-1030. The material and the opinions voiced are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or entity. To determine what is appropriate for you, please contact your financial professional.